Welcome to Architects of Opportunities, a series on founders of nonprofit organizations. We will look at how one person or a few people saw a need in your community and found a way to fill it. Who are the people that are inspired to see a need and bring others together to lend a hand, and not for profit? They are the nonprofit founders. Founders are everyday heroes. They envision possibility and persevere to accomplish it. Founders in all sectors and across the country share a common vision. They want to make a difference. Today, we will introduce you to one organization who makes a contribution to your community. Well, welcome. We're very excited to have you with us today, Kay Carlson, founder of Marin Open Studios, and Bob Amos. I'm looking around your studio, and it's hard for me to focus on you because your art is so exquisite. I'm just thinking, where can I put that in our house?
Yes.
But I would love to ask you, what inspired you to create Marin Open Studios? And just tell us a little bit about how that started and what your thoughts were.
I think it has to do with life experience that I had. I realized that artists did not know one another in Marin County, having lived in Sausalito and also in the West Marin area.
Oh, right.
And I had a background of working in galleries in the city. And as I looked around, I saw that artists were hidden here in Marin. And I began to notice when I moved in this building, actually this building, the ICB, is the home of Marin Open Studios. Because when I moved in here, I realized that they were doing an open studios just in this building. And in fact, this is the 44th year of that. So I watched Tim Rose, who had a studio across the way from me, and I thought, why isn't the whole county doing this? And so at an opening, I walked up to him and said, Tim, let's do Marin Open Studios together. He looked at me as if I was crazy. And so we did. And that was really the beginning of it in 1993.
And you had to convince, I think, artists to do this, or did you?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
They had to be, they had to trust that we would take their money and get them to have people coming to their studios and organize it well. We studied San Francisco's open studio as well as Santa Cruz and their timeline. And it was very chaotic. And we got volunteers to do the gala and to help us distribute the guides that we printed and do the map, which is in Marin County is a real challenge. And the Art Council assisted us by giving us their mailing list of all the artists. So it was a groundswell.
Hello, my name is Holly Sorrell. I'm an artist at Marin Mocha, and I'm here to tell you about Marin Open Studios. Why do I do that show? It is the absolute best show, studio artist in Marin County. It is a chance for people to come in and actually communicate with the artist, see what the heart of the artist is, get into the studio, see the materials that the artist is using, see what kind of direction, what kind of thought pattern they're doing. It's also a great opportunity for new people to art, for gallerists, and for even people who collect art to come and see what the local scene is doing. My art is basically, I do something I call dimensional abstract painting. I take, when I started trying to figure out my journey and what I was going to do, I was just kind of looking around and I noticed there's endless amounts of material on the ground, things that we use and discard all the time that have really quite a design value to them. Everything has shape, everything has interest, and I decided I was going to take used, found objects, recycle things, and build a sculpture onto the canvas and then paint into it, again using found objects. I love taking common everyday things that we discard and kind of disguising them. So when I make the sculpture on the canvas, then the next thing I do is I paint into it, which then disguises what it is and turns it into something beautiful and quite different.
Honestly, I was at Tim's opening, and this voice said to me, "Go ask Tim if he wants to do all Marin Open Studios with you."
Wonderful.
And I just marched up to him, and that was when he said, "Are you crazy?"
He didn't quite hear that same voice, I think.
No.
So when the artists decided, yes, this was a great idea, imagine one at a time, and then more and more and more, and then you had to find spaces to show
We
the
did,
work.
and I contacted the Stan Hoffman, who was the manager of Corte Madera Town Center, and he was all in right away.
Wonderful.
He thought it was a great idea and gave us a fabulous big raw space.
Oh, great.
Um,
It's so wonderful when I hear this from entrepreneurs and people who founded the nonprofits, when one or two people say, yes, it's a great idea, and then all the others who are not so enthusiastic can sit down.
Yes, and really what happened then was that all the doors opened.
Oh,
You know, that was the key that told me that I was on the right track.
Oh,
When that kind of response came of people signing in to help with the guide, and we got restaurants. My sister went around and got restaurants to back us, and they gave us $100 each. You know, so it was one by one, really. And well, I was able to hand off Marin Open Studios. We were able to hand off Marin Open Studios once we started it and had the template to the Marin Art Council, because they really wanted it. They wanted that as a signature program for them. And I was happy because it was a monster to run.
yes.
And they ran it beautifully for 15 years. And then I noticed that it began dwindling. They stopped doing the gala. They stopped having a widely distributed catalog. And I investigated that and realized that not only would Moss fail, but the Art Council also failed. So I went in with a group of volunteers, Bob being one of the leads, and investigated that and took it back. We took it back legally,
When was that?
2011.
Okay.
And the same thing happened again to me, where all the doors started opening. You know,
Uh-huh.
good people signed on and said, no, this can't go down. Stan Hoffman, 20 years or 19 years later, was still the manager of Town Center and gave us space. And Marin Magazine distributed 38,000 of our guides. So it was sort of a repeat of the early days of, oh no, we can't let, in its 19th year, we can't let this go down.
That's wonderful. So consistently from the time you started at 96, so
93.
93, so you've been about 23 years?
Well, I was, for 15 years I was
Well, you weren't,
out
but
of it.
you come back.
I came back, and this is our 4th year now, after we refounded it. And I hear that that's not uncommon for nonprofits, that the founder will watch it, and then if it starts failing, they'll pick it up again. And it makes sense because that person knows all the intricate components that go together. And someone else would have a hard time picking all those details out. And the personal relationships are key, because in order for those people to trust, again, that you can fulfill that role, if you've done it before, the chances are more likely that you'll pull it off again.
Absolutely, and you have.
Hi, I'm Marty Knapp. I'm a photographer in Point Reyes Station. Welcome to my gallery. I've been making photographs in this little town on Highway 1 for about 30 years, and I've had this gallery here for about 15. When I started out, Marin Open Studios was the first place where I actually showed my work, and I think that's been over 20 years ago now. And I showed it in a little studio in Inverness Park. And it was a perfect model for me because I've always wanted people to know what it is that I do, and I wanted them to come in and see how I did it. So I've continued that model over the years, participating on and off with Marin Open Studios, and also with a local group out here called Point Reyes Open Studios. Today, I work out of my gallery, and my home nearby, a block and a half away, is where I make everything. And the model still exists for me. The model of inviting people in, making them welcome, letting them see how it is I do what I do. If you look around my gallery, you'll see everything is in 1,000 shades of gray, sometimes called black and white. Somehow Ansel Adams got into my blood early, and I've always wanted and continued to make photographs in black and white instead of color. Today's technology allows me to photograph in color raw, but I convert everything to black and white because I'm most interested in how the light shines, how it looks, how the texture of things is. So I've continued an old tradition in the West Coast photography, started with F64. My own work is always in stunning black and white, which I think in a certain way is in a million colors, different shades of gray. Eventually, I started gradually selling my own work, which featured the landscape here in beautiful Point Reyes, the National Seashore. Today, people come from all over the world to look at this kind of work, and I'm thankful that there were people like Marin Open Studios who gave me a venue for my work when I didn't have this gallery.
And Bob, how did you get involved with it?
Well, that's an interesting story. I retired from a long corporate career in late 2001 and decided that I would become an artist. And so by 2011, a friend of mine who was also an artist asked me to come to a meeting, which was one of the early meetings of the steering committee or revitalization committee. And I said, sure, I'll go, but I'm not making any commitments. I'm just going to observe and see what it's about. And by the end of the meeting, Kay had drafted me, and I was suddenly involved in Marin Open Studios, which I had always intended when I retired to do some volunteer work. And while it might not have been in this area, it's been extremely gratifying.
Wonderful.
And what I brought to the table was perhaps some organizational skills and, so to speak, a more business perspective, which I think is important for small nonprofits to run the nonprofit as a business.
All nonprofits. That's where it's
Yep.
going.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how I got involved and what I think, or at least what I try to bring to the organization.
It's wonderful.
Very
There's no
gratifying.
trying. You do.
You bring it. That's right.
Hello, my name is Victoria Mimiaga, and I'm a painter. I have a studio at the ICB, and the reason I actually got the studio was because of Open Studio. I wanted to be where all the other artists were. And so in this building, we have 3 floors of artists, all get great exposure. So for me, Open Studio is a blessing. I participate in Marin Open Studio, an event that is 2 days and 2 weekends, and I open my studio up to the public. So for 2 days, the public can come in and see what I'm working on, see the breadth of my work, and I can explain why I do it and talk about individual paintings that amuse me. It's a great way to interact with the public. I really love to paint. In fact, I love to paint everything, which I've heard is a problem when you're in a business that likes a brand. So people say, well, why don't you just stick with skies? You do skies so well, or water. Why don't you just paint water? But I paint whatever I see that moves me, which is pretty much everything. So my work is all over the map, but at the moment, I'm really into skies. Skies and reflection, I would say, at the moment. I think reflection turns me on because it's sparkly. It's just, you can really use paint to make an expressive mark. I also like to look at it in life. So I'm moved by it. I'm moved by how different things are when they're reflected. Sometimes they're darker, sometimes they're lighter. Sometimes they make an abstract painting. It's actually a lovely way to make an abstract painting.
And I understand you just got a new board member. Is that-
Yeah, we have a very small board,
Are you looking for more board members?
always, but we're very careful about that.
What's your criteria?
We prefer to have someone who is an artist or certainly very much interested in art, but also someone who brings certain skills. For example, our most recent board member has a background in the financial area,
All right.
but is also an artist. So we're looking forward to that. She'll be replacing the fellow who was doing the financial work earlier, and due to his other workload, had to leave the board.
Good for you.
So
good.
that's how we do it.
And when are the open studios?
Every May.
Every May, so that's coming up.
It is.
Are you
It's
busy
upon us.
with that?
Extremely,
Uh-huh.
extremely. Sunday nights, Monday nights, Tuesday nights.
Yeah, every night. So how do artists find you and sign up to be part of it, to show their work?
We have a website,
All right.
marinopenstudios.org, and word of mouth is the best thing that we have.
All right.
Certainly. Apparently our street cred is good. And I think every county now has an open studio, and the world has changed dramatically in terms of the way artists market their work.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Seton. I'm from Artworks Downtown in downtown San Rafael between C and D. We participate in Marin Open Studios. We have 28 artist studios and many of them participate. Last year we had 33 artists participating all under one roof. One of those artists is Ann Wolf.
Hi, I'm known as the Blue Artist, and I've participated in Marin Open Studios. And I've transferred from canvas to prints to art on items that people can use, such as this t-shirt. I'm primarily a graphic artist.
I also participate in Marin Open Studios. This is my art here. I'm interested in water media. I've been working in oils most recently. These are oil paints that have been watered down with turpentine and silver paint.
And what I love about working from my studio is it's a more casual atmosphere. People are intimidated by art. I like to show them an array of works. I love talking to the public. I love other artists coming in, other creative people, that I don't think I would have access to that without Marin Open Studios and being at Artworks Downtown, a public place for art. I chose the bee in my design because of the plight of bees and also nature, having a few run-ins with bees this past summer. The response I received, I met beekeepers, I met t-shirt artists, I met an array of people that I wouldn't have without this bee design. It just right away opened up the conversation more than any other single piece that I have done other than cats.
And having an open studio was considered difficult for an artist. Now galleries are having rough times, and artists are marketing their work online. And they're really taking more charge of their career. One of the things I did as a result of working with artists in my gallery, period of time I was working for galleries, I noticed that artists were not treated very well. And that was part of my mission, actually, to help artists to see that the buck stops right here, that you have to manage your own career. Mm-hmm. And you need to know how to function in the world and not just be the creative person. And that's really happened over these last 20 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. I do remember a friend of mine was an artist, and I wanted her to get out from an entrepreneurial point of view, and she wasn't having it in those days. Mm-hmm. But I think now it's more, as you say. Mm-hmm. But what kind of art do you show at the gallery? Is it all oil painting?
Oh no, it's everything.
Everything?
Everything. Sculpture, photography, jewelry, ceramics, anything that you're making that artists, that the public is interested in.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when the artists come to you, then does that indicate that you need more galleries to show it in, or how are you looking for more artists, more galleries? How can the public help you?
They can help us by coming to the exhibit, which we will have for 3.5 weeks this year at Bonaire Center. They're generously giving space to us, and looking at the exhibit, perhaps buying a piece, then visiting the open studios that happen the first 2 weekends in May. And we have a big party on April 25th. And we generally have about 800 people at our gala party.
Fantastic.
So it's a big mixing and great conversations, and meet the artist, and it's quite thrilling event.
And we hope you'll attend.
This is where you come. I'm imagining you get people from all over the state to come to Marin County to look at these wonderful artists.
We have the Bay Area. I'm not sure we have the state, but our statistics on our website, which is Tracks, says that we really have half of our people come from outside of Marin, which
wow.
is very exciting. The other thing that has happened in the last 4 years is we are taking on partners to get our artists involved with the county and to make sure we have a year-round presence. So we're partnering with Marin Parks and Open Spaces and having events on that land. We have a painting plein air group, Mospag, that has 60 members. We are donating money and supplies to Drawbridge, which is a homeless kids service. They bring art supplies to the shelters. And also Youth and Arts. We really think that having children see adults making art is crucial. And Marin Open Studios certainly is the forefront of that. So we offer Youth and Arts. They have a Rising Stars exhibit, and we help put that on. We help jury it and give prizes. So we're branching out. We're also who are other partners?
Cedars.
The Cedars is a developmental disabilities program and for adults. We're also rolling out a new program called ABC, which is Art to Business Connection. And we're partnering artists with businesses, which offers both of them new clients.
Fantastic. Collaboration is what we need in Marin County. Collaboration of
We feel
nonprofits.
that one of our responsibilities, our charter, if you will, or mission, is that through Marin Open Studios, we very much feel that we're helping enhance the culture of Marin County, in particular the art culture. And that's very important to us. And with the youth programs, on a long-term basis, its goal is to get more kids into art, and therefore, hopefully, as they grow up, they become artists and participate in Marin Open Studios, for example. And the connections with business, it's good for businesses because we bring people in, as Kay said, from all of the 7 Bay Area counties, and some from beyond that, of course. So it brings money into the county as well.
Big
So
time.
there's a lot of synergy and different connections we have in the model we have, which so far certainly is working very well.
That's fantastic. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're after. And I think talking with you both makes me feel like the Marin Founders celebration has some teeth in it, because that's what Mary and Miranda and I had hoped, that we could find the connections between the nonprofits and inspire more connections, and between business and corporate and the other funders. So thank you for that. I didn't realize it myself, and I think there will be a wide group of viewers who didn't know how much you contribute. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
I think the word connection is our real theme and motto. We connect really the county with art, and not just in May, but there's that possibility of we do pop-up exhibits in windows, and now that this county has no Marin Art Council, we are one of the entities that can provide that for the art centers, for this industrial center building, for MoCA, for Artworks Downtown, to connect all of Marin.
Well, thank you for the work you're both doing, and thank you so much, Kay, for hanging in there. And I'm sure there were some times that were tough, and you kept going. And what helped you persevere? What was that?
This sounds crazy, but you know, when that first idea came of when I walked up to Tim and heard this voice say to me, you know, go ask Tim if he would do Marin Open Studios with you. To this day, my brain seems to still just give me things to do, in spite of the fact that I'd really perhaps rather, you know, go to my studio and paint. I keep getting ideas, and I feel responsible now that I need to take those ideas out and see them live.
Well, thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, it's your
Thank
cue.
you.
You're welcome. I help nonprofits hire staff and leaders to carry on their founder's vision. And so I've seen hundreds of nonprofits contribute to our community. We created Architects of Opportunities to share that with you. Now, nonprofit founders will tell you they don't do it alone. If you're among the 25% of us who are volunteers or volunteer board members or staff or donors, thank you. And if you're not, please join us in making a difference.